The sun rises over the compound, casting long, golden rays across the secure facility. Dwayne sits in his office, his eyes scanning a set of papers spread out on his desk. Each page bears a cryptic heading, states with no further details, just North Carolina, California, Michigan, Florida, and Maryland. The files are sparse, almost taunting in their lack of clarity. He drums his fingers on the edge of the desk, the hollow sound a steady beat as he thinks through each one. This is the next challenge, deciphering missions that could end in more bloodshed if he doesn't act fast. A soft chime breaks his focus, and Jesse's voice comes through the comms. "Dwayne, just got word. Your mom's safe and on her way here." Dwayne's shoulders relax ever so slightly. "Good. Have a female operative meet her when she arrives. I want someone she can talk to who'll explain everything clearly. And make sure she has my number. I want her to be able to reach me as soon as she's ready. Please and thank you." "Understood," Jesse replies, his voice low and serious. Dwayne leans back in his chair, allowing himself a rare moment of relief before turning his attention back to the files. The vague, cryptic nature of them gnaws at him. These operatives, buried so deeply in the fabric of the intelligence community, are wildcards he can't afford to ignore. The door to his office opens, and Max steps inside with an air of urgency. His usual carefree demeanor is replaced with the intense focus that only surfaces when he's utterly absorbed by a task. "Dwayne, I've finally debugged DALON. We're clear, and it's ready to be brought online today." Dwayne nods, the weight of their success coupled with the sheer gravity of what lies ahead settling on him. "Good work, Max. We're going to need every ounce of that AI's processing power if we're going to crack these," he says, gesturing to the files. Max's eyes follow Dwayne's hand, landing on the states listed. He frowns. "No case names, no operatives identifiers?" "Nothing, just locations," Dwayne replies, a note of frustration creeping into his voice. These could be where the original cases took place or where the current targets are living now. "I need DALON's help cross-referencing these states with relevant cases." Max nods, already mentally preparing for the task ahead. "We'll get started as soon as it's online." Dwayne glances at another set of papers, Celeste's list of potential recruits. Each name comes with a brief background, notable skills, and why they'd be valuable to the cause. He spent the night reviewing them, analyzing their strengths and weaknesses. It's time to bring them in, expand the network, back and bolster their resources. If they're going to counteract the covert missions and whatever chaos might come next, they need more hands, more eyes, more minds. Turning back to the comms, Dwayne's voice is calm but resolute. "Jesse, Aaron, let's get the team on standby. We need these recruits briefed and brought into the fold by the end of the week." "Already on it," Aaron responds. "But I have to ask, what's the plan with these deep cover agents?" Dwayne's jaw tightens. "I'm working on that as we speak." Max adjusts his glasses and offers a proud grin. "Max, make sure DALON is not on the internet. We don't want anyone to find us. No using an AI to find our AI," Dwayne says, his voice edged with seriousness. "Already done," Max replies with a nod, his fingers moving quickly across the keyboard. "It's on a closed network that's self-sufficient. I've even added some more upgrades. You've got a whole room dedicated to processors now. DALON 2.0 is faster and smarter than ever." Aaron, leaning against the doorframe with his arms crossed, lets out a low chuckle. "Deuce, deuce," he says, the nickname rolling off his tongue with a hint of pride. Jesse, sitting at a nearby table, smirks and chimes in. "I like that one. Deuce, deuce." Dwayne glances at each of them, taking in the rare moment of levity amidst the tension, but his focus remains sharp. "Well, let's give it a go," he says, taking a steadying breath. He leans into the mic and speaks clearly. "Deuce, are you online?" A brief silence fills the room, punctuated by the soft hum of processors firing up in the next room. Suddenly, the flat screens flicker to life, and a smooth, synthesized voice responds. "Good afternoon, Agent Williams. DALON 2.0, or Deuce Deuce as you've affectionately called me, is online and ready for operation." Max's grin widens as he exchanges an excited look with Jesse. Aaron's smile fades into a more serious expression as he focuses on the task at hand. Dwayne's eyes narrow slightly as he takes in the new, seamless interface on the screens. "Deuce, run a cross-reference check on deep cover operatives in North Carolina, California, Michigan, Florida, and Maryland. Include both past and present cases linked to these states that involve high-profile targets or potential victims. Understood, Deuce responds, its voice precise and efficient. The screens fill with data streams and algorithms running in real time. The room buzzes with the anticipation of new revelations, each member of the team fully aware that whatever Deuce pulls up will dictate their next moves. Dwayne's heart thuds in his chest, a mix of hope and the burden of responsibility coursing through him. This is their moment to regain control, to take the fight back to the shadowy figures who have manipulated and threatened them for too long. Deuce's voice cuts through the room like a precise instrument. Agent Williams, based on the names of the operatives in question, the results came back with 0 matches. However, while cross-referencing the names of persons in the cases, the first letters of their first and last names match up with the first letters of a few of our operatives' names. For what it's worth, Dwayne's brow furrows. He knows from experience that even the smallest detail can lead to a breakthrough. He takes a breath, deciding to follow this trail, however tenuous it might seem. Deuce, list the cases. The screen shifts as Deuce begins to read out the cases one by one, each appearing in bold text. Terry McBain of Tallahassee, Florida, Walter Green of Prince George's County, Maryland, Oliver Gant of Oakland, California, Renee McBride of Dearborn Heights, Michigan, James Farrell of Charlotte, North Carolina. Dwayne's eyes scan each name, feeling the weight of their stories echo through the sterile room. List these cases in the order they occurred historically, he instructs. Deuce processes the command, and the cases rearrange themselves on the screen. Oliver Gant, Oakland, California, James Farrell, Charlotte, North Carolina, Renee McBride, Dearborn Heights, Michigan, Walter Green, Prince George's County, Maryland, Terry McBain, Tallahassee, Florida. Dwayne studies the sequence, his mind racing. Each case represents a point in time that has passed, but there's a pattern buried within the data, one that the operatives might be acting upon or reacting to. The room begins to fill with an undercurrent of tension as the team members watch Dwayne process the findings. "Looks like we found our gauge," Dwayne says, his voice heavy with determination. He knows now that they need to dive into each case's specifics and connect the dots before the deep cover operatives make their next move. Dwayne leans forward, eyes sharp with intensity. "Let's start from the top. Deuce, give us all the details on the Oliver Gant case." Deuce's synthesized voice fills the room, calm yet commanding. The Oliver Gant case occurred in Oakland, California. On the evening of January 1st, 2009, Oliver Gant, a 22-year-old black man, was returning home with friends after celebrating New Year's Eve. The incident took place on a crowded train at the West Oak Transit Station. Officers responded to reports of a disturbance on board. Among them were Officer Trent Baker and Officer Jared Murchison. Deuce pauses briefly as a timeline of events appears on the screen, each detail stark against the dark background. Upon arrival, officers removed Gant and several others from the train. Eyewitness footage captured the confrontation, showing Gant seated against the platform wall, unarmed and complying with commands. Officer Baker, in a sudden escalation, forced Gant to the ground and pinned him face down. Officer Murchison stood by, appearing tense but passive. Dwayne's jaw clenches as he remembers the footage that had sparked national outrage. He gestures for Deuce to continue. Witnesses later testified that Gant pleaded for mercy, telling officers that he couldn't breathe. Without provocation, Officer Baker drew his service weapon and fired a single shot into Gant's back. The sound of the gunshot reverberated through the platform, freezing onlookers in shock. Gant succumbed to his injuries on the scene. The room is silent except for the hum of computers and the subtle shifting of team members. Deuce continues. Officer Baker initially claimed he mistook his gun for a taser. After a heavily scrutinized trial, he was convicted of involuntary manslaughter and sentenced to 2 years in prison, serving just 11 months before release. Officer Murchison faced no charges. Dwayne's eyes burn as he absorbs the details. The case is notorious, a grim reminder of systemic failures and injustices that fanned the flames of civil rights protests nationwide. But what connection does this have with their current threat? Deuce, cross-reference any known connections between the operatives and this case, Dwayne orders. The AI processes the commands swiftly, with lines of code and data filtering through in real time. Cross-referencing completed. No direct connections were found between operatives and the officers involved. However, Agent Omar Greer was stationed in Oakland at the time of the incident. It is possible that residual anger or unfinished business could tie into his current objectives. Also of note, Greer has an alias on file as Kendall Marks. Dwayne's mind churns. This isn't a coincidence, he mutters to himself before addressing Deuce again. Keep a record of the other operatives in the database whose names coincide with the victims. If we are right about this one, we may have found the pattern. The team takes notice, the gravity of the situation settling over them. This is the lead they've been waiting for, the thread that might unravel the entire web. Dwayne's resolve hardens. It's time to act. Dwayne nods, piecing the fragments together. The Gantt case is only the beginning. If they want to preempt any possible retaliatory action or escalation, they have to act fast and stay 2 steps ahead of the operatives who have taken it upon themselves to seek justice outside the system. Dwayne's eyes flicker with a mix of urgency and unease. Noted, Deuce. Guys, we need to find our guy and get him out ASAP before he kills either or both of these men. Deuce, what are the whereabouts of both officers? The room falls silent as Deuce's processing hum fills the space. In moments, the AI's voice comes through clear and precise. Officer Trent Baker is currently on medical leave due to kidney failure. He receives regular dialysis treatments at St. Mary's Medical Center in Oakland. Officer Jared Murchison is also on leave, taking paternity leave as his wife is expecting their first child. He is currently residing at home with her in East Oakland. Dwayne feels a chill run down his spine. The stakes have just escalated. Deuce, do we have any insight into whether the kidney failure could be linked to our operative? Deuce responds almost immediately. Based on our records, the assigned operative, Agent Greer, has extensive medical training, specializing in pharmacology and biochemistry. It would not be out of the realm of possibility that he was involved in inducing or exacerbating Officer Baker's kidney condition. Additionally, considering his background, Agent Marks could be posing as medical personnel, potentially blending into St. Mary's Medical Center without detection. The weight of the revelation presses down on Dwayne. It makes sense now. Marks isn't just some blunt instrument. He's deep cover, trained to adapt and infiltrate any environment. It's plausible, if not likely, that he's found a way to be in that hospital room, hiding in plain sight. Deuce continues. As for Officer Murchison, if Marks is following a pattern, he could be planning to be present at the birth, disguised as a nurse, technician, or even a visiting doctor. His operative profile suggests he's trained to be invisible in high-stakes scenarios. Dwayne rubs a hand over his face, the exhaustion of the past few days catching up with him. We need eyes on that hospital now, and find out exactly who the recent hires or volunteers with medical backgrounds in the last 6 months are, and run that information through Deuce. Aaron, who has been listening intently, steps forward. I'll get in touch with a few of our local contacts in Oakland, people who can scope out the hospital without raising suspicion. Jesse's eyes are hard as steel. And what about Murchison's house? We need to get someone inside before Marks does. Dwayne nods. Jesse, coordinate with our ground team in East Oakland. Get them inside the perimeter without alerting anyone. We're not losing anyone today. Not if I can help it. The room now boils with tense energy. Operatives moving quickly, their focus sharpened by the enormity of their task. Dwayne's mind races, already steps ahead, calculating every move and countermove. The line between justice and vengeance has never been thinner, and now it's up to him to keep it from being crossed. Dwayne's eyes shift between Aaron and Jesse, measuring their reactions as the urgency in the room intensifies. Does anyone know what Omar or Kendall looks like? Dwayne's voice is calm, steady, but carries an edge that conveys the gravity of the moment. Aaron takes a deep breath, his brows knitted in concentration. I don't know what he looks like now. I mean, not after he's been deep undercover for so long, but he definitely knows what Jesse and I look like. He used to take orders from us. Dwayne leans forward, hands planted on the table, eyes narrowed in thought. It would be risky having Jesse back in the public eye, but we may not have a choice. We need to stop him before he crosses that line. Aaron, you'll handle the situation with Officer Murchison's wife. Make yourself visible around the hospital and create enough of a presence that Kendall knows we're there. Jesse, you take the dialysis center. Be seen. If Kendall's there, he'll recognize you, and that recognition will force him to react. Jesse's jaw clenches, eyes cold and calculating. Understood. But what happens when he shows himself? Do we pull him out or... Dwayne's expression is unreadable, but there's a flicker of resolve. Whoever he approaches or whoever finds him first will tell him the mission is off. Make it clear that we need to reassess the situation. We can't afford a rogue operation with this much at stake. Jesse exchanges a knowing glance with Aaron before speaking again. Is this something we want to involve Emily in? Dwayne shakes his head slowly, the weight of his next words heavy on his chest. Not yet. She's been playing her own game, and if we bring her in, she might see Kendall as a threat. We need to find Kendall first, understand his motives, and bring him back in without raising more alarms. Emily's reach is extensive, and if she gets wind of this before we secure him, Kendall could end up neutralized. We protect our own, and that means getting to him first. A brief silence falls over the room, the magnitude of the situation sinking in. Aaron squares his shoulders and gives a nod. I'll make sure everything goes smoothly on my end. Jesse's lips curl into a half smile, though it's devoid of humor. Looks like we're back on the front lines, brother. Dwayne's eyes lock with each of them, a silent exchange of trust passing between them. Be careful out there. This isn't just about stopping Kendall. It's about bringing him back before he becomes another casualty in this war. The room moves with determination, now armed with final preparations as Aaron and Jesse gear up, each man taking a last glance at Dwayne before beginning to head out. They all know the risks, but this is what they do. Navigate the thin line between control and chaos, and somehow find a way to keep it from breaking. 1 second, fellas. Let's run a few things by Deuce first, Dwayne proclaimed, feeling elated that he has a new toy to play with. Deuce's voice comes to life, smooth and precise, as it processes the request. Mission protocols for intercepting and retrieving an undercover operative in a compromised situation are as follows. Visibility and identification. Ensure the high visibility of familiar agents when drawing out the operative. Aaron and Jesse's public presence serves this purpose. The operative must know that the mission has been compromised and the order to abort has been issued. Nonviolent communication. Use non-threatening direct communication to relay the mission cancellation. This limits the risk of escalating the situation or triggering defensive action from the operative. Safe extraction. Once contact is made, guide the operative to a secured exit route. Ensure minimal public exposure during extraction to prevent further risk. Diversion protocol. Implement crowd control or minor diversions to mask the extraction. Use agents on the periphery to manage unexpected disruptions. Secondary support. Have secondary operatives in place to provide backup if needed. This includes maintaining a presence near critical points of entry and exit. Cover story. Prepare a cover story for public interactions if Kendall's exposure requires immediate public explanation. Medical preparedness. Given Kendall's medical training, he could resist extraction under the guise of medical assistance. Have tactical medics ready to intercept. Probability of success rates. Initial contact and recognition, 84%. De-escalation without incident, 73%. Complete extraction without external interference. 62% probability of detection by FBI, 37%. Overall success with minimal complications, 64%. Agent Williams, Deuce adds, based on these protocols and current intel, we're positioned for a reasonably successful extraction, but maintaining operational flexibility is crucial. Dwayne exhales slowly, his eyes narrowing as he processes the information. The odds are favorable, but the risks remain significant. He knows he has to trust Aaron and Jesse to play their roles flawlessly and stay ready for any variables that might emerge. All right, Deuce, Dwayne says, his voice steely. Let's move forward by playing this smart and keeping everyone on a tight leash. No room for mistakes. Deuce responds with sharp confirmation, the atmosphere in the room thickening as the operatives prepare for what lies ahead. Deuce's voice hums with precision, cutting through the tension. To achieve the highest rate of success without casualties or confrontation, consider the following adapted protocols and strategies. Enhanced surveillance and early detection. Utilize discrete drone surveillance and hidden cameras to monitor the hospital and maternity clinic. This ensures real-time observation without direct interaction unless absolutely necessary. Embedded agents. Integrate operatives into the medical and support staff to provide eyes on the ground, ensuring Kendall can be intercepted in the least intrusive way. Neutral ground engagement. Redirect Aaron and Jesse to non-threatening, common areas frequented by staff or visitors. This positioning reduces confrontation and gives Kendall a clear path to recognize them and engage first. Aaron is assigned to a public waiting room with accessible exits, while Jesse takes a position by the nurse's station or another visible but non-restrictive spot. Psychological leverage. Equip Aaron and Jesse with key phrases that only Kendall would recognize, signaling internally that the mission is compromised. Subtle hand signals or coded language are advised to avoid drawing attention from unfamiliar observers. Covert medical protocols. Brief medical personnel attending the dialysis patient and the expecting family to accommodate Aaron and Jesse as support contacts under the hospital's safety protocol. A tactical medic team, disguised as hospital staff, is ready to respond to any emergencies or unexpected behavior. Distraction and soft containment. If Kendall does not reveal himself promptly, initiate a soft diversion such as a non-threatening announcement or controlled evacuation drill. This approach nudges him to move and signal without causing alarm. Plainclothes operatives create soft containment barriers, guiding the crowd away and funneling Kendall into a safe meeting area for Aaron or Jesse to intercept. Avoiding confrontation. Stress the importance of Aaron and Jesse maintaining calm, friendly demeanors. Any visible tension or aggression could trigger Kendall's defensive instincts. Tranquilizers and non-lethal measures are prepared as a last resort to prevent harm. Adjusted probability metrics, initial contact and identification, 92%, de-escalation and voluntary cooperation, 81%, complete extraction without incident, 74%, avoiding detection by Emily's network, 42%, overall success without casualties, 78%. Deuce's voice softens, as if considering the gravity of the task. Minimizing confrontation will require all operatives to act with utmost precision and awareness. The primary goal is for Kendall to recognize and understand the signal before any escalation occurs. Dwayne nods, absorbing the plan. The stakes are high, and there is no room for missteps. His eyes sweep the room, locking onto Jesse and Aaron, whose expressions are steeled with determination. "This is it," Dwayne says firmly. "We follow these strategies and make this happen without bloodshed. Everyone knows their role. We need to act now." Kendall has been embedded for a while, and if he's as deep as we suspect, he's already got his eyes on the target and may even be working from the inside. We can't risk him going any further. Jesse leans forward, arms crossed over his chest, his expression unreadable. This isn't just about stopping him from carrying out a mission. We need to make sure he understands that the mission is off before he's forced to reveal himself. If we can do that, we can prevent any escalation from even starting. Dwayne nods. Exactly. He'll be thorough, studying every detail of his surroundings. He'll have alternate plans and escape routes. If we move today, we have a better chance of catching him while he's still analyzing and not yet committed to his next step. Aaron, unless something happens elsewhere, you're going to the hospital. Jesse, your post is the clinic. Make your presence known, but keep it subtle. Aaron shifts his weight, his gaze hardening with resolve. What about Kendall's reaction when he sees us? We're not exactly going to blend in with regular foot traffic. That's the point, Dwayne replies, a grim smile tugging at his lips. When he spots either of you, he'll know something's up. He'll hesitate, try to figure out what's happening. That's when you move in and tell him that the mission is off. Make him believe it's a direct order. Jesse exhales slowly, cracking his knuckles. And if he doesn't buy it, if he thinks we're trying to smoke him out? Dwayne's eyes darken, the weight of leadership pressing down on him. Then we're prepared to go further, but not until we've exhausted every peaceful option. The goal is to remind him who we are and why we're here, to avoid unnecessary bloodshed, not add to it. A brief silence falls over the room, the low hum of the computers and the occasional click of a keyboard punctuating the tension. Aaron breaks the silence, his voice steady. So today's the day we take back control and show Kendall that he's still one of us. Let's get this done. Dwayne looks around the room, seeing the mix of determination and tension reflected in their eyes. He takes a deep breath, the enormity of the mission settling over him. Move out. We have one chance to make this right. Let's make it count. Aaron and Jesse leave with brisk strides, their eyes filled with purpose. Dwayne stands motionless for a moment, watching their retreating figures. As the door shuts behind them, the room falls silent, the tension echoing in the space they leave behind. He takes a deep breath, releasing the pressure weighing down his chest. The soft glow of the monitors casts a bluish tint across Dwayne's face as he turns back to the command center. Deuce's interface pulses lightly on the central screen, its algorithms constantly updating and processing new data. Lines of code and probability graphs flicker, displaying real-time assessments of the situation. Dwayne scans the reports, meticulously searching for any improvements that could minimize risk and ensure success. Dwayne exhales slowly, his eyes narrowing as he processes the information. The odds favor success, but risk lingers in every detail. He knows he must trust Aaron and Jesse to execute their parts flawlessly and remain prepared for any unexpected variables. All right, Deuce, Dwayne says, his voice firm and steady. Let's move forward. We're playing this smart and keeping everyone on a tight leash. No room for mistakes. Deuce responds instantly, its mechanical voice cutting through the room. Understood. Reassessing current data. Cross-referencing new updates with operational protocols. Estimated time for analysis, 2 minutes. Dwayne rubs the back of his neck, feeling the tightness in his muscles as he scans the room. The organized chaos of wires, screens, and high-tech equipment surrounds him. Max sits at his workstation, fingers flying over the keyboard as he monitors Deuce's performance. He glances up, his eyes gleaming with pride. This upgrade is working better than I expected, Max says, breaking the silence with a hint of excitement. The predictive capabilities are sharper, and the real-time analysis is nearly flawless. You made the right call trusting me with this. Dwayne manages a small smile, nodding. Good job, Max. We need every edge we can get. Even as he speaks, his mind churns with thoughts. Contingency plans, escape routes, and the hope that Jesse and Aaron can pull this off without complications. Deuce's screen flashes, signaling the completion of the analysis. Dwayne's eyes refocus as he orders, report. Minor adjustments recommended to field strategy, Deuce begins, projecting detailed recommendations onto the screen. Graphs shift, highlighting optimized paths and timing updates designed to minimize exposure and increase success rates without confrontation. Dwayne absorbs the data, mentally mapping tweaks to Aaron's and Jesse's routes, already preparing to relay the information. Max leans back, his eyes fixed on the screen. Looks like we're as ready as we can be, boss. Dwayne nods, his jaw tightening as he acknowledges the risks. Preparedness is their armor, but unpredictability remains the battlefield's defining trait. Let's hope it's enough, he mutters, his eyes locked on the screen as he coordinates the delicate dance of their mission. Dwayne takes a deep breath, his gaze shifting across the room before returning to the monitor. The hum of Deuce's system fills the silence, tension gripping the team. We have a team on the first case, Dwayne says firmly, his voice resolute. Let's keep going. Deuce, give me the case information on James Farrell. Dwayne stands tall at the room's center, his eyes narrowing as the tension builds like a tangible fog. The hum of electronics and the steady rhythm of typing form a symphony of focus. Max, stationed at his desk, taps away with precision, awaiting the next command. Deuce's synthetic voice cuts through the quiet, delivering its report with measured cadence. Case profile, James Farrell. Location, Charlotte, North Carolina. Date of incident, September 14, 2013. The subject was a 24-year-old former college athlete. Initial reports indicate that Farrell sought assistance after a minor car accident and approached a residential home. The homeowner, alarmed by his presence, contacted emergency services. Police responded to the scene, escalating the situation. Dwayne's jaw tightens as Deuce continues, its tone clinical. Officers involved, Harold Jensen and Marcus Riley. According to their statements, Farrell was perceived as a threat when he moved toward them unarmed. A taser was deployed, followed by additional shots, resulting in his death. Witness accounts conflicted with the officer's report, indicating Farrell was subdued prior to the shots. A heavy silence falls over the room as the team absorbs the weight of the case. Max exchanges a grim look with another agent, their eyes shadowed by understanding. These stories, Dwayne knows, are the ones that have fueled protests and exposed systemic fractures. The operative linked to this case, Deuce continues, is highly skilled in psychological manipulation and covert operations. He likely maintains deep ties to local community organizations and may be embedded within the city's infrastructure. Dwayne's mind races, dissecting the information. Deuce, do we have current intel on the officers' locations? Officer Harold Jensen retired early and now works in private security. He resides in a gated community outside Charlotte. Officer Marcus Riley remains on the force but is currently on stress leave, staying at a cabin near Lake Norman, North Carolina. Dwayne's eyes sharpen, his voice measured and urgent. Max, coordinate with field agents near Charlotte. We need eyes on both officers and any indication that our operative is preparing to move. Max nods, determination flashing in his gaze. On it, boss. The room is now present with focused activity as agents spring into action, their movements precise and purposeful. Dwayne feels the mounting pressure, aware that every second counts. There is no room for error. This mission must be executed flawlessly. Deuce, Dwayne commands, prepare tactical data for the agents in the field. I want reports every 15 minutes. Deuce processes the command and hums back to life, its calm cadence filling the room. Passive surveillance activated. Drones are monitoring both locations. Key entry and exit points are under review. Dwayne's fists clench as he watches the operation unfold on the monitors, the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. Each decision carries life or death consequences, not only for his team, but for everyone entangled in this covert battle. He takes another deep breath, bracing himself for the next move. Let's stay sharp. We're not letting anyone slip through. Deuce's voice hums back to life, filling the room with its calm, mechanical cadence. The operative in question has an extensive profile. Known as 13, he is highly skilled in psychological manipulation, infiltration, and silent takedowns. Trained in both urban and rural environments, he seamlessly blends into a variety of roles, making it nearly impossible to identify him without precise intel. His cover identities range from public service positions to civilian roles, allowing him to stay embedded for extended periods without detection, and yet, his original identification is a mystery. Dwayne narrows his eyes as he processes the information, every muscle in his body coiled like a spring. Controlled tension is now added to the atmosphere of the room. Agents focus intently on their tasks, while screens flash with live data and tactical maps of Charlotte and Lake Norman. Based on the current data, Deuce continues, the probability of the operative successfully completing his mission without intervention is 87%. Factors contributing to this high probability include his experience with prior missions of a similar nature and the extremely low public and professional profile of the agent, which reduces external interference. Max glances up, concern written across his face. That's a high success rate, Dwayne. We need to act fast and precisely. Dwayne nods, the lines of stress deepening around his eyes. Agreed. These officers are in less public settings, which means 13 can operate with more freedom. It's going to be a challenge to intercept him without blowing his cover or ours. He exhales sharply, his gaze shifting to the data projected on the wall. This isn't just about preventing a tragedy. It's about preserving the delicate balance of their operation and ensuring none of their agents fall to the wrong side of this covert war. Deuce, Dwayne says, his voice steady. What measures do we need to take to increase our probability of success and ensure this operation stays under the radar? The AI processes for a moment, the faint whirring of its algorithms audible. Recommended measures include the strategic use of plainclothes operatives near key entry and exit points, coordination with community informants who may have unknowingly interacted with the operative, and deployment of low-profile surveillance drones equipped with facial recognition to identify and confirm the operative's presence. Dwayne sweeps his gaze around the room, catching Max's eyes and nodding. All right, team. Let's get this moving. Time is not on our side. The room brims with urgency as Dwayne's directive sets everything into motion. Agents move quickly, coordinating logistics and deploying resources to Charlotte and Lake Norman. Max's fingers fly over his keyboard, pulling up satellite feeds and securing real-time drone and satellite footage that paints a digital map of the targeted areas. The tension in the air is palpable, a fragile balance between chaos and control. Dwayne's eyes flicker from one monitor to the next, each screen showing a different angle of surveillance. Crowded streets, quiet suburban lanes, and the reflective surface of Lake Norman's still waters. The scenes move like a silent film, each frame building toward an inevitable confrontation. Max, Dwayne commands, how are we on passive drone surveillance? I need eyes on both targets and any unusual movement in the surrounding areas. Answering for Max, passive surveillance initiated, Deuce replies, its voice calm and composed. On the primary monitor, the drone's perspectives populate the screen, seamlessly switching between thermal and night vision as they scan for signs of the operative. Dwayne clenches his jaw, aware that even one misstep could tip the balance and make intervention impossible. The weight of the mission presses on his shoulders, a subtle but constant reminder that lives hang in the balance. He is no stranger to high-stakes operations, but this time, the playing field is different. The enemy is someone trained to be invisible, to work in the shadows as well as he does. Max, how's our intel feed? Dwayne asks, his voice sharp and steady. Max glances up from his station, sweat beading on his temples. Everything's running clean. We have drones circling Lake Norman and eyes on Officer Jensen's home. It looks quiet, but we know that's often a sign something's about to go down. Good, Dwayne mutters, his eyes narrowing as he scans the feeds. If 13 shows up, we need to spot him first and move fast. Max, keep running behavioral algorithms through the crowd footage. Anything that stands out, flag it. Minutes tick by, each one stretching the tension in the room. The hum of computers and the rhythmic tapping of keys are the only sounds breaking the silence, punctuated by the occasional beep as new data is logged. Suddenly, Deuce emits an alarm, a sound no one in the room has heard before. Its intention is clear, to demand attention. Possible match on Kendall has been detected, Deuce announces. One of the surveillance drones captures movement on the screen. An unmarked car parked 2 blocks from Murchison's house. The driver, partially obscured by shadows, wears a baseball cap pulled low, hiding his face. Dwayne, Max's voice cuts through the room like a knife. You think we have something? Dwayne's pulse quickens as he leans in, his eyes scrutinizing the screen. The driver shifts, and for a brief moment, the dim glow of a street lamp illuminates a profile. The image is grainy, but unmistakable. It's him, Dwayne confirms, a mix of relief and dread washing over him. Kendall is now in play. Keep the next op up on the screens for me to monitor. All units pertaining to Kendall, stand by for my signal. The room bristles with anticipation as operatives on the ground ready themselves. The next move is critical. One wrong step and everything they've fought to protect could unravel. Dwayne's fingers drum a steady rhythm on the edge of the console, his mind racing with scenarios and outcomes. Deuce, he whispers, his eyes fixed on the screen. Guide us through this. But first, there is something about Riley and this cabin that is bothering me. Understood, Agent Williams. Initiating protocol, Deuce responds confidently. Dwayne leans forward, the weight of the task ahead bearing down on him. Deuce, what are the chances of completing this? Give me everything. Deuce hums, cold and precise. Calculating probabilities based on available data and current operational readiness. Initial contact and identification in the wooded area near the cabin has an 82% probability of success. Factors include agent familiarity with the terrain, covert surveillance, and previous knowledge of 13's behavioral patterns. The risk of evasion is moderate due to his deep cover training. Dwayne listens intently, every word fueling his determination. I can live with that, he says, his voice unwavering. Now back to Kendall? Deuce hums to life, its calm, mechanical voice filling the room. The probability of de-escalating the situation and obtaining voluntary cooperation from Kendall is 65%. His psychological profile suggests he values mission completion above personal safety. The chance of success improves if familiar voices or figures are used in initial contact, such as agents with past connections to him. Deuce continues. The probability of completing the extraction without incident is 60%. Potential issues include Kendall's resistance or use of defensive measures if he feels compromised. His medical training may enable him to employ non-lethal deterrents that could complicate the operation. Avoiding detection by FBI carries a 78% probability, Deuce adds. Her surveillance capabilities are robust but can be circumvented with strategic use of secure channels and signal jamming measures. The overall probability of mission success without casualties is 55%. This figure accounts for unexpected variables, such as local law enforcement interference, civilian presence, or sudden movements by Kendall that could escalate the situation. Dwayne's jaw tightens as he absorbs the data. The mission's risks are significant, and he knows even precise calculations can't account for every variable. He nods to himself, determination solidifying in his eyes. Deuce, what do we need to do to improve our success rate? He asks, his voice steady. Deuce responds, analytical and composed. To improve mission success rates, the following recommendations are made. Utilize psychological anchors. Integrate known associates or individuals with significant personal history to Kendall into the initial approach. This increases the probability of voluntary cooperation to 80%. If Kendall perceives trust or familiarity, his immediate response may be to listen rather than react defensively. Deploy multi-tier surveillance. Expand surveillance to include visual, auditory, and non-intrusive thermal imaging to track movement in dense areas. This will raise the chance of a smooth extraction to 70%. Introduce controlled distraction. Create a planned distraction to disrupt Kendall's focused mindset without triggering alarm. Simulated wildlife movement or a non-threatening civilian presence can reduce his hypervigilance, boosting the probability of contact without confrontation to 75%. Engage covert backup operatives. Position secondary agents nearby who remain unseen until necessary. This improves the chances of avoiding escalation and casualties to 65%. If escalation occurs, deploy non-lethal measures such as tranquilizers or sonic deterrents. Establish quick exfil routes. Prearrange multiple extraction routes to minimize delays or blockages during egress. Station a helicopter in a nearby clearing or off-road vehicle teams in secondary locations to cut response time by 50%. Disrupt FBI's surveillance. Deploy signal jammers emitting on encrypted channels to temporarily neutralize FBI in the vicinity. This raises the success rate of avoiding detection to 85%. Utilize de-escalation props. Equip agents with non-threatening items such as medical kits or documents, signaling a peaceful approach, helping diffuse Kendall's combat readiness and increasing the probability of zero casualties to 70%. Dwayne absorbs the list, each calculated step layering onto the plan forming in his mind. His fingers tap rhythmically on the table as he processes their next moves. Thanks, Deuce, he says, his voice firm but measured. Max, relay this to our field operatives and ensure all gear and backups are prepared. We don't take unnecessary risks, but we won't let Kendall or anyone else get hurt. Get someone closer to that car, and let's see if that's our guy for sure before we corner off the entire block, please. Max nods, his fingers already flying over the keyboard to send updates to the teams on the ground. The room hums with tension, the stakes clearer than ever. This isn't just a retrieval, it's a precise and deliberate operation requiring trust and expertise. I'm going to wrap up for today, Dwayne announces. We'll reconvene at 8 a.m. tomorrow to work on the other cases. Max, notify me of any new developments immediately. He pauses and glances around. And can someone tell me where my mother is? I need to talk to her. Max looks up, his expression softening. Your mother arrived about an hour ago. She's settling in with one of our female operatives. They've made sure she's comfortable and secure. Dwayne exhales, a wave of relief momentarily easing the weight on his shoulders. Good, he says, his voice carrying a rare note of tenderness. Max, keep me updated on any changes and make sure the team gets some rest. We need everyone sharp tomorrow. Max grins and gives a small salute. You got it, boss. Dwayne turns and exits the control room, his mind already shifting gears. The corridors of the facility are quiet, a stark contrast to the intensity of the day's operations. As he walks, his thoughts drift to his mother, her strength, resilience, and the sacrifices she's made. He knows this isn't the life she envisioned for him, but it's one she would understand. When he reaches her room, he pauses outside the door, taking a deep breath before stepping in. Inside, the room is warm, lit by the soft glow of a lamp. His mother sits on the edge of a cot, her eyes lifting to meet his as he enters. Relief and worry mix in her gaze, but she manages a small smile. "Dwayne," she says, her voice as comforting as ever. "Hey, Mom," he replies, closing the door gently behind him. The room feels like a quiet haven amid the storm, and for the first time all day, he allows himself a moment to breathe.